How do all these quilt blocks help you make a better quilt? Let's talk about that. Over the last several months, I have shown you a lot of quilt blocks. I hope that's been very interesting, but exactly how does that help you to make a quilt top? There are a lot of things to consider when designing a quilt top. Colors. Do you have a color scheme in mind, or do you need to match someone's favorite colors? Or do you just want to experiment? Color contrast. Do you want to use bright and loud colors or soft and pastel colors? Do you want to use complementary colors or contrasting colors? Flow. Your design should have a flow to it. Do you want your eye to move through the quilt, or should the flow lead your eye to a central focus point or central element? This is art, and basic design principles are important. These are just a few of the things to think about. Today, I want to demonstrate a couple of examples of flow or movement. Both of these blocks have the word ribbons in their name. I did these blocks on day 79 and 80 of the Quilt Block a Day Challenge during lockdown. The first is called Ribbons. I did this block on day 80. It is made with half square triangles and is a simple, easy beginner block. I made 12-inch blocks, but since it's all made with half square triangles, this can be adapted easily to an 8-inch block. Just do the math. And these blocks can also make a great border. Here is the block. It forms a continuous pattern throughout, and so I've got two different contrasting materials and then a background. So this is a 12.5 unfinished square. It will be 12 inches inside of a quilt. The measurements for the blocks are, there's solid blocks here, 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 and here, and those are 3.5-inch squares. Now the half square triangles, all the rest are half square triangles, and I cut those strips 4 inches wide by 16, and then these are the squares there that I cut out of the strips. Now I like to cut my squares bigger so that I know I can trim my half square triangles down in order to get that nice edge where it's going to meet, the seam is going to meet in the middle, and it looks so much nicer. So take your time, go slow when you sew these, and trim them down. It just works out better that way. So let's take a look at this. Now what I did is I looked at my pattern that I have here, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of the light material and then the dark material. So I know I've got 2 squares that need to be sewed. So that's what I did. I did 2 of those, and then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of those, so 2 squares with those. And then the rest are the 2 materials, the 2 contrasting materials together, so I sewed those. I like sewing them this way. It's much easier for me. I don't have to sew on the bias. You know, I'm not sewing right there on the edge. It doesn't get misshapen. It doesn't stretch on me, and the half square triangles always just look so much better. Then what I've done is I've gone and I've drawn my line with my air erase pen, and this just fades away. It just, after an hour or so, it just goes away. And so these are all the half square triangles that are in this block. So let me cut these all apart for you, and we'll lay this block out and you can see how it's going to go together. Now normally what I would do is I'd take these over to the iron and I would press them, but for right now I'm just going to do a quick finger press on them just so that you can see how this goes. And like I said, you need to match up. So we have those two there, and they're going to form that part. And I always lay these out in the rows just to make sure that I've got it laid out correctly. It just makes it so much easier for me. Oh wait, that's not right. There, that's right. It just makes it easier for me that I make sure that my layout is correct and that I double check before I sew anything, just so that I don't sew it in the wrong direction. I've got two of these right here and there. I want two of these. So as you can see, there's a lot of half square triangles here. So just making sure that they're placed in the correct place will eliminate some of the trying to figure out what goes where. It's just so much easier to lay them out, and you can see where they're going to go. This goes here. And as you can see, it's starting to form the ribbon pattern. And you can see that the half square triangles are all, they will all fit together really nicely. And then here's the last one here. And that's basically the pattern. And you can see as it continues, it would continue with the zigzag of the ribbons through it. It's a lovely pattern. It's an easy pattern. It takes very little material, and it took me less than 15 minutes to cut the material and get it ready to make the half square triangles. So that's today's block. It's called Ribbons. It's located on Quilter's Cache. The patterns are free for you to print and use. So you can see this is a simple, easy beginner block that has great movement and flow through it, and could easily be adapted to use as a border. On day 79, I made Ribbons Quilt Block. The Ribbons Quilt Block is just the Friendship Star block with some half square triangles added around the star. These half square triangles make for great movement through the quilt top. Here is how this block goes together. Very, very easy. It just takes, some squares. This is your center square, which is the size of your center square is a 4.5-inch square. And now all of these, I cut these at 5-inch squares because I just like to trim my half square triangles down. I just know that they come out better, they work together better. So what I do is I just take my air erase pen. I have this wonderful air erase pen, and as you can see, you can't even see the lines that I made. I did these earlier today, and so it's just a nice line, and then I sewed a scant 1/4 inch on each side of it. So I've done all of those, and now I just, after I've sewed them, I just cut them apart. And then what I get is I get 2 half square triangles. And then once I trim these up, then I will sew them together and put them into the square. But just so that you can see it right now, how this works. So these will be directly opposite of each other. And then that one will go here. And this is my center cord, but this is my center one. So that'll give me a better idea. And then I will cut these last 2 in half. So now you can see this is starting to take shape, and the star in the center is also a friendship star. So you can see we've done this one before, and it's a I've also done it in a whole quilt, which I'll show you in a minute. But this is how this goes together. And that's all there really is to it. Just watch your placement of your squares so that you can, so that everything, and then what happens is this starts to form a ribbon effect. This would, if you kept to the same colors, it would just be this ribbon effect around the square. So let me show you the quilt that I actually made. Now these blocks were made with small, they're 2.5 inch squares, and these work out to an 8 inch block. And this is the block right here that I'm talking about, and it looks like this ribbon effect that's running through the whole quilt. And that's the effect that this block will give you also. It's just a little bigger. It's a 12 inch finished block, 12.5 unfinished. You don't need a lot of them, but this is the quilt that I'm talking about, and you get this ribbon effect that's running through the whole quilt. And it just is it's a very stunning pattern, and it makes for a really nice effect for a quilt. So that's what I have for you today. You can see 2 blocks side by side here. You can begin to see the possibilities for movement and flow when these are put together. One of the important factors to consider in designing your quilt tops is movement and flow. I have shown you 2 examples of how individual blocks can go together in your quilt top to make a flow. Now, Jacob's ladder block creates movement in a different way. This is Jacob's ladder block. And the bridle path block also brings its own style of flow. Here's the bridle path block. Check out those videos. A completely different type of movement and flow occurs in quilt tops made with strong standalone elements, be it a panel or a fussy cut block. I will be doing videos on these topics in the future, as well as videos on color and color contrast. If you liked today's video, hit the like button, subscribe, and click the bell to get notified. Go to Quilt Crafters Corner to sign up to receive emails. If you want to join a group of like-minded quilters, come join Quilters Swarm on Facebook. Just answer the questions and you can get right in. Thanks for watching.